everything is fine. I'm Carol Camardo from Pharmacia Medicinaires and I'm here again with the doctor, Juliana Sauter. Today we will address another subject related to depression. So there will be the reason depression. All good. All good. Thanks for the invite once again. It's a pleasure. It is a pleasure to talk. I really like explaining about psychology in this topic, Carol, grief and depression. Ah, it's very interesting. Yes, definitely. Doctor, I would like to know in what situation the grief. Look, grief always occurs because of a loss, and that loss, Carol, doesn't necessarily. It's from a loved one. We have the impression that we only suffer from grief. With grief, someone who has lost the love of life, the father, the mother, the son. However, grief can happen in our life with any drastic change, with any job loss, entrance exam that the student failed. So he suffers so much, when we dedicate ourselves so much to someone or some situation and we end up losing at one. People do suffer, for sure. And are there stages of grief? Yes, there are stages of grief. They exist. 5 stages of grief. The first phase is the denial phase. People always tend to deny it. Now that it's happening to me, I can't believe I lost the love of my life. I can't believe my son died so young. So, there are situations during the loss that the person denies. She does not want to believe in that. The second phase, Carol, is the anger phase. It's that phase when the person gets angry. Above all, he even gets angry with God, Yeah. When we blame God as if God has any sensitivity. The true phrase, where was God? Where is God who doesn't look at me? Exactly. That's why in these stages of grief, we have to be a little patient with the suffering person. The third stage of grief is bargaining. And then I start to want to make one replacement. I already start like this, but could it not have been me in that person's place? It will be that it couldn't have been different. People start to haggle. We have to understand, Carol, one thing. The phases, people, they happen in a way that most of the time the person himself does not realize. When the patient is being attended, we can perceive the faces. And these faces do not necessarily happen one after the other. So we are in the fourth phase now. The fourth stage is depression. I believe that the fourth phase is one of the most difficult phases. Oh, because depending on the person, if they already have a psychological disorder, she goes into depression, and that depression can be really harmful. And that's where the person, she doesn't want to leave the house. She doesn't want to eat. She starts to feel very deep sadness. So depression is one of the most aggressive symptoms, because we can think like this, so and so is very sad because he lost someone, but this sadness can last a long time, beyond what it should. And then yes, it is a case of seeking therapeutic help and medication. In some cases, depression does need medication. It needs a harmonization of this being as a study so that he can overcome these phases. The last stage of grief is acceptance. And then we think like this, depressed, fell into a deep sadness, and look at this, to accept it later, to later understand that loss happens to all of us. It will happen for me, for you, we all will. Prepare for grief in life. However, the way we face this grief is very individual. It's very unique because we as human beings, Carol, we are unique. We are not the same. The formula that works for me may not always work for you. I really like working with florals and florals. You can't make a floral. This one will work for you because it worked for the friend, for the girl. No, we have to listen to the person, understand. No, how much this grief is affecting the person, and so we harmonize with the florals. And this step of acceptance is interesting because it doesn't mean that the person stopped loving, stopped thinking, stopped remembering. Quite the contrary, acceptance in the mourning phase is that moment when the person, she understood that this is a phase of life. She understood Carol and she accepted it. And then she gets continue with her life. She manages to give a direction to her life. And there is such a time. I fight to stay or so. What is time? For each person. Look, I usually say that I mourn. The mourning as a whole, it lasts around a year. Doesn't mean he's in the face of. I still struggle, right? But all the feeling. Think about it with me, Carol, for you we. There are many celebrations. We have birthdays, we have Christmas, we have commemorative parties. And when you are in this phase, on these commemorative dates, and that person, not close feel it. So I usually say that until a person adapts to a life without someone else, it turns around the year. The first wedding anniversary date without a beloved or beloved, it's the first Christmas, it's the first carnival, in short, what was representative for them. So it messes with the person. And let me ask you one more thing. Grief can become a disease. Can it be permanent on the person? You can, Carol. He can. Warning, we can say that it's a pathological problem when he passes that year, right? Let's say, when he passes that 1 year. 2 years go by, and suddenly the person is 5, 10 years living their life over a loss. She couldn't restructure herself, she couldn't find someone else to relate to, she can't get out of the depressive state, and then yes, much greater care has to be taken with that person. And then we have to indicate, right, Carol? Good doctors, good therapists, and this person needs understand that she really needs specialized care because grief can become a disease. It's very sad, actually. It's sad. The life that we are having lately with so many losses due to such a serious illness, it generates a much greater nostalgia in us, a feeling of great sadness, longing for pain, hopelessness, because it seems that it will never pass, right, Carol? It has no end. It seems like it has no end. However, people, the virtue of hope is something that we need to cultivate. Let's hope, let's believe. Today we are like this, going through these hard moments. Tomorrow is much better, because tomorrow has something good in store for us. Isn't it, Carol? For sure. Tomorrow can be got right. I believe. Wise, is there any doubt for you? Is there any clarification left? I'll leave the doctor's address down here, the phone number. Dr. Juliana. You can call, send her a direct. If you want to, call me in private. You know that I am always available to answer you. I often end up replying late at night, but I answer all of you. You know what's cool, Carol? Comment right. Comment if you did you like it. If there is any subject that you would like us to talk about, address it here. Your opinion is super important. And also play the video, because sometimes you are not going through that moment, but someone in your family, someone, friend is going through this. Guys, share the video to reach more people with this information. That's right. And did you need us, people? You know, Dr. Juliana is here at your disposal, and we are at Met.
As I always say,